The Indianapolis Colts have difficult decisions to make in 2026. So, which talents will be free agents? Who will stay? Who will go? And which players do you, the fans, want to see Indianapolis retain next year? Well, let's talk about it. Welcome to the Horseshoe Huddle Podcast presented by Indianapolis Colts on SI. My name is Drake Wally. I am the co-host of the show. My typical co-host, Noah Gebert, he had some things come up. He had an emergency, so he's not going to be joining today, but I figured, I'll go ahead and give you guys my ugly mug for the whole 45 minutes to an hour. I'm going to try to stretch this out an hour. Keep those comments thrown in the chat because I want you guys to talk to me because I'm going to be doing this thing solo, but I'm also the deputy editor of the website. So this is such a big thing to talk about. And don't worry, fans, we're going to be talking about Anthony Richardson. We can't avoid Anthony Richardson, especially after the news that came up today. So full disclosure, he'll be at the end of this episode. Okay. But for right now, we're going to discuss who the 2026 free agents are going to be. Indianapolis is going to have some big time decisions to make next year. Okay. Now there's a whole slew of these guys. I mean, there's probably like 20, 30 guys. So I kept it to 10. I just kept it to a nice collection of 10. But we're going to go ahead and start off hot. Truett Trussler, as always, what a legend. Look at this guy. $3 super sticker. Guess what, bud? This one's for you. It says on this glass, upon further review, I'd like to have another beer. So I'm so happy you guys are here. Thank you so much. Don, nice to see you. Chetman, what up? AR hurt again, sadly. Hey, we'll get to that. We'll get to all that. Tony, nice to see you. Tracy, nice to see you too. And Teresa, thank you so much. But yeah, guys, just a quick update here. So Noah had some things come up. So he's not going to be on the show tonight, just tonight. But we will be back on Monday as a duo. I just decided to take over here. But yeah, we're just going to go ahead and dive right into it. We'll highlight this because I haven't seen Ayo KG on the show, but Ayo, big AR supporter, but this stings, man, already competing for the job and another injury setback. We're going to get to Anthony Richardson. In fact, if I had to take the last 15 minutes of this episode to talk about Anthony Richardson, I'll do it because there's a lot to talk about. Just quick thing that happened, and all of a sudden he's in the headlines like nobody's business. So, but we're going to go ahead and jump into the 2026 free agents. That's what's going to be our subject matter for today. And so it's really going to be crucial for Indianapolis to sign the key guys. They're going to need to retain some guys. They have to build for the future of this franchise, right? So I'm going to highlight 10 of who I think are the most important names. And if I'm missing anybody, please don't hesitate to throw them in there. I appreciate you guys so much. Sean, nice to see you too, my man. Thank you so much. And you know what? We'll go ahead and cheers you too. Thanks for always being on the show, always supporting us. You are awesome, my friend. So, but yeah, we're going to dive right into it. So 2026 free agents here. I think that, there's going to be a lot of difficult decisions to make. Indianapolis, it's going to really hinge on how they do this year. Do they go out there and do they suck, right? If they go like 5-12 or 6-11, 7-10, God forbid, 4-13, some crazy awful record like that. Even if they go 9-8 and miss the playoffs and can't win the division, I think there's going to be different decisions made on some of these free agents than if they are successful. Go out there 11-6, 10-7, they make the playoffs. Maybe they push for the AFC South. That's going to be huge. They're going to retain some of these guys, I think, or at least they're going to try to a little bit more. But first guy is Kwity Paye. We're going to start right off with the former first-round selection for the Indianapolis Colts. And chat, when I highlight these guys, I want you to talk about them in the chat. Don't hesitate to throw some opinions out there, man. Like I said, I'm running this thing solo, so I'm more than happy to have a discussion with you guys. I've done this a lot on Bleacher Report, but not often on the Horseshoe Huddle have I ran this thing solo, so I'm pretty excited. But yeah, we'll go ahead and just kind of talk about it. Kwity Paye, he was drafted in 2021. With the 21st overall selection. Of course, followed was Dio Dangbo. They double dipped at defensive end. They felt like that was a necessity. Kwity Paye, guys, he's been pretty good, right? Like he hasn't been this defensive edge where you're like wetting your pants because he's so good. You're not like, oh man, Kwity Paye, top of the line edge rusher. He's out there putting pressure on quarterbacks. He's out there, forcing fumbles, getting all these sacks. He's really not that guy. That's not his identity. So the good news is, though, Kwity Paye, he's kind of elevated his sack numbers, right? He started out 4 sacks, then went to 6 sacks, then went to 8.5, and then went to 8 last year, which I believe he led the team. So that's encouraging. But he still didn't lead the team in pressures. He wasn't even second. Number 1 was Dio Dengbo. Number 2 was Leatu Latu. So your rookie defensive end actually out-pressured your veteran defensive end, who you also spent a first-round selection on. So Kwity Paye, he's got some ability, right? They took his 5th-year option. They accepted it. They want to continue to evaluate, but that makes him a free agent next season. So we'll go ahead and actually jump right in here. DSG Goodbar says Paye has to be more than just a dude to come back. And then Chetman says, Paye I like as a rotational piece. He's on a cheap contract. So, guys, I personally like Kwity Paye because he is a damn good run defender. Okay. And you can't stress that enough. Yes, he's not out there getting 10 plus sacks. Yes, he's not out there with, Myles Garrett like pressures with like 80 plus or some ungodly number like that. Out pressuring, 2 different defensive ends at once. Trey Hendricksoning it up. He's not doing that kind of stuff. But what he does really well is he defends the run, and you're not going to run outside on him. He's going to set that tackle in place, and he's going to move the tackle depending on where that ball carrier goes. And he's great at stopping that, and that's very valuable in the NFL. Now, the question is, what happens with JT Tuimoloau? That was an interesting selection to me because you already kind of had this crowded defensive room, right? You already had a little bit crowded, but you had Leatu Latu, you had Tyquan Lewis, you had Samson Ebukam, you had names like that in the room. And so adding JT Tuimoloau is interesting. I think that it puts a little bit more pressure on Kwity Paye, not similar to Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson, right? I don't think that Kwity Paye's job is being threatened here at all. But I do think that was kind of like a note, like, hey, we accepted your 5th-year option. And we want you to step up. You got to step up a little bit. You can't just be a run defender as a first overall selection or a first round selection. So I like Kwity Paye. I think that, the things he does well, run defense, I think that he doesn't get taken out of the play very often. I think that there's a lot to like about he secures tackles. He's actually got 31 tackles for loss in his career. He's got 2 different seasons with 10. So the guy does have ability, right? He's got ability. The one concern is his sack numbers. He doesn't really force a lot of turnovers. He's had 4 forced fumbles. So he's one of those guys that's not going to go out there and blow your mind. But yeah, absolutely good at run stopping, but his position cost may outweigh his current ability. That's very true. And then we've got Daniel Miller down here. Paye is more like a run stopper with some power rushing moves. If he can develop a better swim move, he should be better. However, JT Tuimoloau is a better prospect with swim and spin moves. JT Tuimoloau is a beast. No doubt about it. He absolutely wrecked the entire college football landscape last season at Ohio State. I mean, he absolutely destroyed everybody. In fact, you guys got to bear with me because, like I said, I'm alone here. So I do have to pull up his numbers. They're absolutely astonishing. So JT Tuimoloau, let me see here. Here we go. Yeah, so last year alone, he had 12.5 sacks. He had 22 tackles for loss. He had 61 total tackles, 35 on his own. He had 3 passes defended, 2 forced fumbles, just an absolute monster, playing good competition. So I'm really impressed with him. We'll have to see. But at the end of the day, I think that Kwity Paye is going to be I think personally that they'll re-sign him. I don't think that now if it's all going to be hinging on what does he do this year. If he goes out there and he has another 8 sack season, okay, nothing too remarkable. He has like 9-10 tackles for loss, 35 to 40 tackles, 35 pressures. I think the Colts will offer him a modest contract for a defensive end. I don't think that he's going to be able to command some big, huge contract, right? But if he goes out there and balls out, I think Indianapolis should pay him because he's been in the system. Now it's Lou Anarumo now. That's going to be the big question. Can Kwity Paye actually adjust to Lou Anarumo's scheme? I personally think that he's going to play well enough that they're going to retain him. So I say that Kwity Paye is a re-sign. This next one is really, really interesting. So Samson Ebukam. All right. I absolutely loved this signing when it happened. Samson Ebukam comes from the Los Angeles Rams, and then he was with the San Francisco 49ers. Wasn't this big name guy. Nobody really talked too much about him. But the guy, he had 2 sacks, 3 sacks, 4.5, 4.5, 4.5, and 5. Okay. So nothing too remarkable. He basically had 24.5 sacks. Okay. Or no, 23.5 sacks until he joined the Indianapolis Colts. Well, then he sets career highs in 2023 in sacks with 9.5, tackles with 57, tackles for loss with 10. And he went out there and balled out. I mean, he played great. He was second on the team in pressures to only DeForest Buckner in 2023. Samson Ebukam was an animal. He also defended the run really well. He set a career high in quarterback hits with 17. This dude was playing his mind out, playing out of his mind. I really liked what I saw from Samson Ebukam. Of course, then he goes down with that Achilles tear. Huge injury, out for the entire season. They didn't want Laiatu Latu to have to take on so many snaps. They wanted him to be more in those passing down situations because, let's face it, Laiatu Latu, he might turn into a good run defender. I don't think he's ever going to be a great run defender. I think Samson Ebukam is Kwity Paye with sack prowess. I really do. I think that Samson Ebukam is, at his height, a better defensive end than Kwity Paye. I think that kind of like DSG Goodbar says right there, man, like you got to be careful. Who knows how he's going to be after such a critical injury that is so bad it happens in the offseason and you can't even get back on the field. Okay. Now he is confident that he's good to go. All right. And no NFL player, I personally don't think an NFL player is going to be like, you know what, I can't make it. I'm not going to be able to play through this injury. I just can't do it. I just can't see an NFL player, a pro, saying that. Right? They're always going to they're going to be confident in themselves. All right. These are guys that have to have the can-do mindset. And I think that this one's going to be interesting, but I think that they're going to find a way to keep him. Now, again, all of these guys depend on how they play in 2025, right? But let's just hypothetically say Ebukam goes out there and gets 7.5 sacks, 8 sacks. He puts consistent pressure on the quarterback. He defends the run well. Yes, I understand he's 30 years old. Okay. Yes, he's been in the NFL. It'll be now 9. This is his 9th season if you include his 2024 where he didn't play. But I just think that he's got the ability that they're going to keep him. I think that Ebukam, he is a veteran. He is over 30, but the guy played out of his mind when he was given a starting role. Okay. You got to think with the Rams, that's an always fantastic defensive line. Now they've got Braden Fisk. Now they've got Jared Verse, right? They always seem to have guys, no matter who leaves, like Aaron Donald. Well, he was playing with the Rams when they had Aaron Donald. All right, he was playing with the Rams when they had dudes on that defensive line that could absolutely smother your quarterback. And he still went out there and had 4.5 sacks. 4.5 sacks. And then he goes over to the freaking 49ers where they have Joey Bosa, or they have Nick Bosa. Okay, I can't remember if they had Eric Armstead at the time, but that was also a defensive line that had dudes all over the place. And whenever he got in there, he made it count. He really did make the most of his reps. So when Ebukam got that starting role and was able to start all 17 games in 2023, dude was a menace. He was out there playing fantastic football. I would personally like to see Samson Ebukam return in a Colts uniform. But again, it's going to be all about, can he come back from that injury? Let's just play hypotheticals with these guys, okay? I think that if he does go out there and even shows a shred of what he showed in 2023, I think they keep him. I don't think he's going to command a lot of money. I think he's on I don't have it in front of me, but he's on a 3-year, $24, $27 million contract. They didn't sign him for much. He's not going to cost that much. unless he goes out there and just absolutely tears apart people, has like 14 sacks or some absolutely ridiculous season like that. So, Teresa, I think you need another drink. You're doing an awesome job. Well, I don't want you to. You're kind of pulling my arm here, Teresa. So I guess, guys, give me a second. I do have to hydrate. I've been yapping a lot. Hold on a second. Nothing like beer water for the show. So, but yeah, I'm a huge Ebukam fan. So this next one, it's a little bit sad, but it's also like you can kind of see the writing on the wall with this guy. And I do have to pull him up because there's a wild statistic that has to do with injuries, and that's right tackle Braden Smith. Now listen, Braden Smith is still okay. Yeah, so Chet here nails the contract for me. Thank you so much, dude. I appreciate the help. So about $8 million a year. He's currently making 10.5, so that makes sense. Look, even if let's say he goes out there and has another 9.5 sack season, right? You hope that someone else can eclipse 10 and lead the Colts, or if he leads the team with 9.5 again, you're hoping you've got Kwity Paye with 8.5, Leatu Latu with 9, Tyquan Lewis with like rotational piece, like 5 or 6. Maybe Zaire goes in there and he's got a bit of blitzing prowess and goes in there and gets 6. You're hoping that if Ebukam doesn't eclipse 10 sacks and still leads the team, you're hoping other guys are compiling sacks. But let's just say he gets 9.5 again. Okay. Even if he led the team, I see like maybe 13, 14 million a year, a 2-year, $27-28 million contract. I just don't think he's going to cost that much. So yes, I like Ebukam, but Braden Smith is interesting because he did have a down season last year. He was also dealing with immense mental health issues. I'm not going to dive into it. If you really want to look it up, the guy is a very strong person for coming forth with what he was dealing with. It was not easy to play football for Braden Smith, just like it wasn't easy to play football for Charvarius Ward. These guys are human too. So they go through a lot of crap mentally, and they still have to go out there and play in front of thousands of fans. So Braden Smith, he only played 12 games last year, dealt with injury. Of course, Matt Gonsalves goes over to the right side, fills in for him. Braden Smith's biggest problem, it's not that he can't play football, because the Colts restructured his contract. They could have cut him and saved an absolute crap ton of money, people. I mean, they could have saved over like $12-13 million by cutting Braden Smith. And you have Matt Gonsalves sitting right there. You're like, well, why not make him the starter, right? Well, they drafted Gonsalves to eventually move inside and replace Will Fries. That's what, me and Andrew, former host of the show, we said that on Bleacher Report. Andrew actually was one that said that. So Braden Smith is still a good run defender. You don't want to let go of a guy like Braden Smith if you can help it, right? He is a starter through and through. He's played 94 games and started 92 of those games in his career. Okay, so the guy is a bona fide starter. No Pro Bowls, no All Pros, whatever. He's consistent as hell. The biggest problem with Braden Smith is his injuries. They're starting to pile up. So let's see, 6, 7, 14, 19. He has missed 19 games over the last 4 years, people. That's not good. He had 11 play. He missed 5 in 2020 or 6 in 2021. He missed just 1 in 2022, but then he misses 7 in 2023. He misses 5 last year. So 12 of those 19 games have been missed over the last 2 seasons. So Braden Smith's biggest problem is his injuries, and they are starting to catch up, kind of similar to the way they did Ryan Kelly, where you're starting to see this slow drop-off from a guy that's been really good, honestly, by all regards. Braden Smith's been a hell of a tackle for the Indianapolis Colts. And so the left side is obviously mostly pass blocking. Of course, you still have to run block on the left side, but the right side is that power side. That's that side where you're really looking for a dude who's going to deal some blows. And it's just one of those things where Braden Smith's injuries are starting to pile up. I fully expect the Colts to let him test free agency. Let me know what you guys think here. But I just think Braden Smith, I think that they restructured him, to keep him around for one more year because they need to make a decision. They wanted to move Gonsalves on the inside. You already have so much happening with the offensive line. Ryan Kelly, bye-bye. He's gone, right? Will Fries, bye-bye. He's gone. They both go to the Vikings. Okay, you're already replacing a guy who was a 4-time Pro Bowler and a former second-team All-Pro in Ryan Kelly. All right, at one point in his career, he was one of the best centers in football, and any given game day, he was the best. So then you're letting go of a guy who is just on the ascension, right? He's just ascending and getting better, and Will Fries. So you can't let Braden Smith go too and have to fill the center, right guard, and right tackle all at once and leave yourself just Quentin Nelson and just Bernhard Raimann for Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones. You couldn't do that. So I'm glad that they restructured his contract, but kind of like DSG Goodbar here says, okay. And yeah, so sorry, but I would let Braden Smith walk. I believe they don't draft the linemen you have and let Kelly and Fries go if you have zero confidence. Plus, you have to pay Bernhard soon. Bernhard Raimann, for those of you who don't know who he was talking about or who they're talking about, as well as others. Very, very good statement there, DSG, because it's a difficult decision, right? The Colts knew what Braden was going through last year. And, when he wasn't playing, they weren't like, well, you need to get the hell back out there. Chris Ballard, say what you want about him. He values his players. Not saying that general managers don't, but there are some absolutely god-awful general managers out there, people who are just not good. Just not good. They don't relate to the players. They don't have a connection with those players. But yeah, so we'll have to see. I fully expect the Colts to just let Braden Smith go. And I think that Braden Smith could probably find a better opportunity elsewhere because Indianapolis is going to be looking to replace him. So, but this next guy, man, this is a big one. This is a big one, and I'm glad that somebody brought it up. But we have a dude who was one of the best tackles in football. So both of your left and right tackles are going to be free agents next year. Former Central Michigan Chippewa and former tight end, I might have you know, Bernhard Raimann, number 79. One of the nicest guys, has one of the softest voices you'll ever hear. Just such a nice dude. Smiles real big when you're interviewing him. Started off his career pretty shaky, right? 2022 was just an absolute joke of a season. He gets thrown in there. I think it was that 9-6 disgusting game, or 12-9, whatever the hell it was, with the Broncos, Matt Ryan versus Russell Wilson. And Raimann struggled. But the whole point was so he could struggle. He needed to get out there and get those reps and fill in and be that left tackle. 2023, he's starting to get better. 2024, he's a full-blown piece to this offense. You can't have the Colts offense now without Bernie. You can't have it. You can't have it at all. Okay. And we'll get to it, Chet. You have a comment there that I really want to highlight. Bernhard Raimann, while I pull up the stats here, I know that Pro Football Focus is not the gospel. I have to always say that. But man, Bernhard Raimann last season, if you look at his Pro Football Focus numbers, he was absolutely balling the hell out. 85.1 overall offensive grade, 82.0 pass blocking grade, 80.7 run blocking grade. Guess what? The overall grade is 8th out of 140 eligible tackles. The run blocking grade is 10th out of 140 eligible tackles. The pass blocking one is 14th out of 140 eligible tackles. He's in the top 10%. That's fantastic. You can't look at those metrics and say, my goodness, this guy can't play, right? And I understand that he did miss some time because Matt Gonsalves played more than they wanted him to. He was that literal swing tackle, plays left, plays right, in relief of both of these guys. But yes, AOKG, he's one of the most important of this group, and not even just free agents that are going to be, or not even guys who are going to be FAs next year. He's just one of the most important pieces to the Indianapolis Colts now. Okay, so you can't have Anthony Richardson out there without a good blindside protector. You can't have Daniel Jones out there. You can't have Riley Leonard or Jason Bean or whoever the hell is going to play quarterback for this football team. You can't have them out there without good blindside protection, because all four of them, two of them, one's a rookie, one is a project guy that has not even played in the NFL yet, really. And the other one is a struggling guy throughout his career like Daniel Jones. And then you got Richardson, who struggles with accuracy. You got to have good blindside protection. I totally expect Bernhard Raimann to have another good season. This is what I wanted to highlight, Chet. Thank you so much for this comment. You don't have to re-sign Bernhard. You need to extend him. The hell with letting him go to free agency. Do you really want other teams offering him money? I wouldn't. If I was the Indianapolis Colts, I'd be like, nope. off-season extension. Here you go. In fact, our own Zach Hicks, incredible writer, great analyst, co-hosts the Lockdown Colts podcast with Jake Arthur, a fellow deputy editor for the website with me. Zach Hicks wrote a fantastic piece on Bernhard Raimann. Please go check it out because he layers out why it's an absolute priority for this football team to not let Bernhard Raimann test free agency. There are teams out there that will probably offer more for him. Okay, because he's only 27. He's just now hitting that stride. I don't think he's hit his peak yet. They need to extend this guy. Don't let him even hear or field another offer because his agent's going to go out there and try to get him a big payday. I promise you there's going to be competition. So don't re-sign him. Freaking extend him. Don't get yourself in a position where you have to start upping his value. He's got great value already. You don't want him to be able to negotiate a bigger contract. So, yeah, right here. Exactly. Top tier left tackles almost never make it to free agency. Most are extended. That's because we're in a passing league and there's only one left-handed starter, and that's Tua Tagovailoa. Okay. You need that left side protection. Okay. You're in a passing league. I know the Colts are going to run the ball a lot. There's teams that run the football a lot. Well, guess what? Bernhard Raimann can also run block for you on a good level at a great clip. So we'll have to see, but I think Indianapolis point blank would be a stupid football team if they didn't re-up his contract. Like you're playing with fire the longer you wait. I hope that they get it done. I really do. Little drink break. All right, so Bernhard Raimann, fully expect him back. I don't think he's even going to get to free agency. He's going to get extended. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 6 guys left here, and then of course I do have to get to the news and rumors because that's a big one. This next guy really showed that competition really brings the best out of people. This is a guy that I think the coaching staff might have even been a little bit out on. Doesn't put up great numbers in his first 2 seasons, but you have to think about the quarterback situation. 2022, you have rag-armed Matt Ryan, rag-armed Nick Foles, third-string quarterback, practice squad quarterback, Sam Ehlinger. Then next season, you have Gardner Minshew, who's not really known for a deep ball. You have Richardson out there who plays only 4 games, and that is the one and only Cincinnati Bearcat, Alec Pierce. So Alec Pierce, 37 catches. Nothing to write home about. But when you put into account that he led the NFL with 22.3 yards per catch, absolutely astonishing. He got targeted 69 times. Most of those times were downfield. Another thing about Zach Hicks, he wrote an article on Alec Pierce and how he's become a premier weapon for the Indianapolis Colts. Look, man, Alec Pierce had almost 850 receiving yards. He had 7 touchdowns. Did you know that 32 out of his 37 catches were for first downs, baby? Like the dude is a first down machine. He's a touchdown machine. 1 out of 5 catches were for touchdowns. Okay, all he does is catch deep balls. His long was 65 yards, yet he averaged 22.3 yards per catch. That just tells you this guy was out there catching deep balls all day long. The problem with Alec Pierce is he's not going to shock you with route running. He's not going to shock you with volume catches. He's not going to be that guy. Don't expect him to ever catch more than 50 passes in a season. But what he does for your offense, even when he's not catching the football or getting targeted, if he's running downfield, he opens up everything. He opens up the intermediate game for a guy like Pittman, guy like Downs. He opens up the short game for a guy like Tyler Warren. He's going to really kill you with his speed. He's an incredibly fast runner. Okay, the dude is known for jump balls, and he's known for this vertical threat and being a big body receiver, hauling in those 50-50 shots. This is a man who will absolutely roast you. So going back to that incredible, that in fact, the 65-yard pass was that absolute barn burner from Anthony Richardson in week 1 against the Texans. So he roasted Jalen Petrie. He destroyed the Texans defense. They had like 2 steps behind on Alec Pierce. Okay, so Alec Pierce is a baller. He's also going to run block for you. He is going to do the dirty work, and you love a receiver that does that. The Colts have 2 guys like Alec Pierce, or 2 guys that are willing to do the dirty work. Him and Michael Pittman, And Alec Pierce is only going to continue, I think, to ascend, right? Because he showed what he can do. Obviously, defenses now have some tape on him. But yeah, Tina, thank you so much for joining. We are all doing wonderful. We're talking about some Colts football in here. If it's AP or MPJ, I want MPJ. I don't blame you there. You can find vertical threats, right? You can find guys that are burners. You can find guys that are going to punish a defense down the field. But I will tell you, Alec Pierce is the best vertical threat in the NFL. I mean, I personally think so. If you can do that kind of damage on 37 catches, that is absolutely that's mind-boggling. And you have 32 of your 37 catches are for first downs. That's crazy production for just a vertical threat, right? So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. But yeah, Tracy Johnson here. Most Colts fans were ready to move on from him after his rookie season. I was starting to become skeptical after his second year. That's when I was starting to say, okay, he had less yards, less catches, right? He wasn't putting up. He was going downward with more efficiency at quarterback in Gardner Minshew. I know Minshew's not a deep ball guy, right? But he was kind of trickling downward, but then just goes through the freaking roof with Joe Flacco and Anthony Richardson. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see, but it's definitely one of those things that I think the Indianapolis Colts are going to put a lot of value on. So I fully expect Alec Pierce to be retained after the 2025 season. I think that they're going to keep him unless he has a complete and utter collapse. Alec Pierce is going to stay in a Colts uniform. So the next guy that we're going to talk about here, sorry, Tracy, I had your comment just stuck up there. Yeah, I mean, hey, we'll highlight this right here. He is a deep threat nightmare. He already is. I mean, old man Flacco, right? Statue Joe was out there Joe Flacco has a hell of an arm, okay? He doesn't use it that often, though. He is more of the efficient check down guy at this stage in his career. He's not out there hucking the ball down the field. He's not doing it like he did in Baltimore anymore. He has started to kind of take it back a little bit. I think with Cleveland, when he won Comeback Player of the Year, that was different. But Alec Pierce, man, you got a guy who can throw the ball deep. He's going to terrorize defenses. He's so fast. For a guy who's a 50-50 ball guy, absolutely blazing speed. And he's got one cut ability that if he's on a post and he digs that foot in and he's gone, man, you better be right on his butt because otherwise you're done. You're done. He's going to catch that ball and he's just going to take it to the house on you. So, but yeah, this next guy, we got a couple guys at the same position here I wanted to highlight. This is a player that was brought back to solidify the position. Absolutely god-awful production from this position. The tight ends had almost nothing to offer this football team last year. And that's Mo Alley-Cox. So Mo, interesting guy, interesting football player. He gets drafted, he gets picked up by the Colts in 2018. Okay, he only has 7 catches, 8 catches. His best year was with Phillip Rivers, old Philly Rivs out there. 31 catches for 394 yards and 2 touchdowns. Okay, now the thing about Mo Alley-Cox is he's not a very good receiver. All right, he's a big, huge guy, pretty good blocker, right? But what really makes Mo valuable is his red zone prowess. So out of 114 career catches, this guy has 15 touchdowns. You do the math. Let's do the math. 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, 90, 105. All right. So out of every about 7.5 catches, it's for a touchdown, right? 69 of his 114 catches for first down. That's well over 50%. You're probably pushing 60 to 65%. So Mo has value, people. I mean, he does. He's got value. And this is a football team that when you take away Tyler Warren, they still only have Mo, Drew, and Will Mallory. I'm not even throwing Jelani Woods in there yet because Jelani Woods has missed the past 2 football seasons entirely. He hasn't even set foot on the field since the Matt Ryan era. So it's going to be interesting to see if they keep Mo another year, right? I think if he goes out there and compliments Tyler Warren halfway decent, I think that you could potentially see him re-signed. Where my reservation is that they put him on a 1-year contract. I just don't see teams often putting guys on a 1-year contract and then another 1-year contract, and they just keep repeating that process. Like 1 year, 1 year, 1 year, 1 year, because if you pay a guy $3.5 million, that's straight off the top of your cap. If you pay a guy $5 million, that's straight off the top of your cap. So like if you have 20 million in cap space, you can say goodbye to that, and it's going to be 15 million in cap space if you do a 1-year deal. So that's why, the Daniel Jones deal was so crazy, is because it's like that's $14 million, boom, right off the cap until you restructure stuff, right? So Mo's got value. He really does. But yeah, and Chet says here, this is something I like. I like this comment. Good guy, good story. Obviously Virginia Commonwealth, played basketball. Okay, so he was one of those guys that was a basketball dude. Comes over, he's just think about that kind of athleticism, man. You just play basketball your entire life. I'm going to go join the NFL. Like that kind of stuff is just crazy. I mean, I'm white as paper, 5'7", maybe $175. So for me, I just can't even imagine playing a professional sport at all. Maybe horse jockey. Maybe that's what I need to do. But yeah, you're talking about a guy who transitioned from basketball to become a guy that has a role on this football team. He's been with the Colts for 7 seasons. Okay, the guy has 47 starts. He has 108 games played. And in fact, in his last 4 years, he hasn't missed a single game. He's played 17, 17, 17, and 17. That's impressive. That's something to behold. That's 68 straight games this guy has played. So he had 13 starts last year. So I do expect Mo to walk, though. I don't think Indianapolis is going to invest more money in Mo unless somehow he just if he goes out there and gets like 35 catches, 40 catches, right? Yeah, Chet, he's on the wrong side of 30, and by wrong side we mean he's about to turn 30, 32. I think that he could potentially find a role elsewhere. Could be an impact guy somewhere else as far as blocking, red zone, whatever. I do think that the Colts, I don't know what the tight end market's going to look like, but you're investing everything in Tyler Warren, okay? Drew Ogletree has more upside than Mo and does the same thing that Mo does, only he's a little bit more of a threat, I think, as a pass-catching option. And then Will Mallory, by the way, has been making some plays in camp. Will Mallory was the fastest tight end taken out of the 2023 NFL draft, people. So I think that they're looking at this room in 2026 and they're thinking, we don't necessarily need Mo anymore, which sucks because he's a Colts faithful. He's been with the team. I think the team really likes him, and he's going to help Tyler Warren immensely with helping him get acquainted to the life as an NFL tight end. So, but no, I expect Mo to test free agency and find a team. I think that he's a hell of a leader, a great locker room presence, and he does the dirty work, people. I mean, he really does. Yeah. I feel like Mo Alley-Cox is more expendable, but he does what he does pretty well. That's very true. He's got a role, and he takes care of it. You could bring him back on a veteran minimum, Daniel, but I just think that the Colts are going to invest that money maybe in a day 3 draft pick. You can find better talent than Mo. I really do. Yeah, and this is the last one I'll hit on before I switch over here. If Warren's season is great, you can grab a Harold Fannin type. I think that they have a Harold Fannin type in Will Mallory. Fannin can block a little bit, but he's not going to block a lot. They're not having Will Mallory out there to block. They're having him out there to catch passes and stretch defenses and be a deep threat as a tight end. So I think that Mo has value, but yeah, I fully expect the Colts to just let him test free agency. So we're going to get to another guy that has the biggest freaking question mark on this team. And yes, I do say more than Anthony Richardson because at least Richardson has played, and that is Mr. Jelani Woods. Jelani Woods. You got to go back 2 seasons to talk about him. Showed so much promise on a team that was absolutely lost like a kid in the woods at night. Like this team was so unbelievably crappy and had no direction. Jeff Saturday was the coach. You're not tanking on purpose per se, but you know the season's lost. Jelani Woods went out there and had a great game against the Chiefs, helped them come back and win. You saw the 6'7" athletic freak out there taking the football and then running with it like an angry rhinoceros. The dude was just boom, boom, hitting guys. Jelani Woods, really, I bought his jersey. I was so hyped about Jelani Woods coming out of Virginia. And then he just can't stay healthy. You're looking at Lost in the Jelani Woods. That's a good one, DSG. I should write that down. But Jelani Woods he's got a lot of promise. Okay. I think that his athleticism is insane. He had a 10.0 RAS score, which for a tight end is fantastic. But he can't even see the field. At this point, he was gone when the Colts desperately needed more tight end help. And then he's gone again when the Colts had even less tight end help, right, in 2024. So now you're talking about Jelani Woods when people are talking about Drew Ogletree. People are talking about Will Mallory. People are still talking about Mo Alley-Cox here, right? Jelani Woods is in a make or break season for himself where he might not make the roster. Okay, right now this is how the roster goes. This is how the depth chart goes, in my opinion. Tyler Warren, Mo Alley-Cox, Drew Ogletree. I think that those could be interchangeable. Will Mallory, Jelani Woods. Jelani Woods is tight end 5. You think that they're going to keep 5 tight ends? You're crazy. I just don't think they keep him. I think in 2026, I just can't see Jelani Woods just absolutely just shocking the world, going out there and being tight end 2. I think that I think his time in Indianapolis is over. Now, who am I to say that this guy doesn't just go out there, he's healthy, and he just dominates the NFL, right? Him and Warren become this 1-2 punch that just absolutely crushes defenses. That's possible. I'm going with what I think is realistic. I don't think he does that. I think you're talking about maybe 15, 20 catches. Okay. Maybe he sees the field in some package sets. Darth, he did catch a couple nice ones at camp. It's also throwing against air sometimes. It's even if they are competing, you're talking about a helmet, shorts, and a t-shirt basically. Put the pads on. Once the pads go on, Jelani's a huge guy. I want to see him succeed. I really do. 6'7" tight ends that weigh 260 pounds and run like this man does and are as athletic as this man is. They don't grow on freaking trees. They don't just grow out of the gridiron and you say, 3rd round selection right there. I think anything from a 3rd round and above is a draft investment. He has been a bust so far. I think that you can throw a bust label on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd rounders. I think Jelani Woods has been a bust. And it's not because of him or his ability. It's because of his injuries. He just can't stay on the damn field. And if you can't stay on the field, it doesn't – like another player we're going to talk about later. When you are injured constantly, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you do, how good you are. The potential, it is there. I'll say that. But I just don't think that he's going to stay. I think that he's the odd man out. We got 3 more guys. We're going to hit them bam, bam, bam. So this next one is a cornerback that the Colts picked up off the scrap heap. He played good football last season. Really, honestly, played pretty freaking good considering he was a waiver pickup, and that's Samuel Womack III. So Colts go out there. They pick up Womack. Juju Brents is hurt, and they have Charvarius Ward, Jalen Jones. You've got Kenny Moore on the inside. You've got Justin Wally now. So there's 4. You have Sam Womack. Then you've got Juju Brents over here. You got Corey Ballantyne, right? Juju Brents is who knows what's going to happen with him. Sam Womack last season had his career year. Okay, he 36 tackles, 26 by himself. He had 9 passes defended, by the way, in 8 starts. Sam Womack, by all regards, played a fantastic season given that he was a waiver wire pickup. He also had 2 interceptions. All right. One against Bo Nix against the Broncos. Sam Womack played good football, and he's a special teams guy. He's not afraid to play special teams. Fully expect the Colts to keep this guy. I'd be shocked if they didn't keep Samuel Womack. I can't see him having a crappy year. Can I see him not having this year where he gets a couple picks, almost 10 passes defended? I just I think that he screams Lou Anarumo. I think that you need as many defensive backs that are competent as you can have in this defense. You're going to be deploying a lot of defensive backs and safeties. So I fully expect Samuel Womack to be on this roster. It's kind of like Darth Vader said, he looked like a Wolverine or something. I liked the kid. I liked him too. I thought that, he's a good interview too, humble, understands where he came from and what he had to do to get to the Colts and what he had to do to be noticed. You're talking about a guy that only had 23 games of experience with the 49ers. Comes on to Indianapolis, 17 games of experience. He gets 8 starts. He played good football. I was very impressed with him, especially given the stock that was put into him, which just wasn't much. But the biggest thing is he's willing to play special teams. All right. And I also think that you can't put your eggs in the Juju Brents basket anymore. I think that you're concerned. I think that Juju Brents has played 11 games out of 34. Very concerning. Very concerning that Juju Brents cannot stay healthy. So give me Sam Womack all day. I think that he's going to stay in an Indianapolis Colt. This next guy absolutely broke the heck out. Smashed, and I was one of them, smashed naysayers. This guy really stared all of his critics in the eyes and said, hey, watch this. Former Maryland Terrapin, Nick Cross. Look, Nick Cross absolutely shined. Absolutely shined last season. I understand that maybe there's some concerns about his coverage, right? He's also not a coverage guy. He's a strong safety. All right, he's a strong safety. He's a box dude. Okay, I'll tell you what he did really well, though, was he defended the run. He had 6 tackles for loss. He also had 146 tackles he had 146 tackles for safety. That's ridiculous. 17, 34, 51, 68, 85, 102, 119, 136, 153. So he averaged about 8.5 tackles a game. So, the dude was just out there absolutely rocketing to the ball carrier. He also had 3 interceptions, tied for the team lead. He had 5 passes defended. He had a fumble forced. He had a sack. Nick Cross played great football, right? He played great football. And he's also, get ready for this, he's going into year 4 and he's only 23. Dude was with the Colts when he was 20. Of course, he gets replaced by Rodney McLeod. He wasn't ready. Then he doesn't play very many snaps in 2024 or 2023. And then he's given the reins. And I remember when he accidentally injured Josh Downs, people were like, this guy's such a tool, right? He's not even going to play that well, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, just tell him don't touch Downs at practice. Nick Cross, man, I'm very impressed. I will say I like that what he's going to be able to – I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do with Cam Bynum. Julian Blackmon did what he could. Julian Blackmon is kind of similar to Braden Smith. These injuries are starting to pile up. His shoulder was really bothering him. So that's why you saw Julian Blackmon whiff on so many tackles and why Nick Cross had to make up for a lot of those tackles. Keep in mind, E.J. Speed also led all linebackers in missed tackles. So then your safety has to come up and make those tackles. And Zaire Franklin missed a lot of tackles. So your linebackers missed a whole crap ton of tackles. And then your fellow safety missed a lot of tackles. Nick Cross was the garbage man. He was that can that took all the garbage and he just accepted it, and he became a heck of a safety. Do I expect him to have 146 tackles? I sure as hell hope not. I think that you've got some issues if he has another 150 tackle season. Yes, he traded up to get Nick Cross. He also did that for Matt Gonsalves. He did that for Jonathan Taylor. That's why they have Gonsalves at right guard. That's why Taylor's the bell cow, and I think that's why they put faith in Nick Cross. So we got one more guy here, and then we got to get to the biggest story of the day. Daniel Jones. I decided to put Daniel Jones on here, and then I'll parlay this into my last segment, which is going to take up a little bit of time. Usually we don't do news and rumors on this show. Daniel Jones, a.k.a. Danny Dimes, which might be the most undeserving nickname I have ever heard in my life. Danny Dimes has a 24-win, 44-loss, and 1 draw record. Okay? That results to a resounding sub 40% win percentage. Okay, so Daniel Jones, people hate on this guy. People are like, well, he sucks, blah, blah, blah. The New York Giants gave him nothing but Saquon Barkley. One season, they gave him a competent offensive line. What does he do? He plays efficient football, throws 15 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. He has 7 rushing touchdowns. He has over 700 rushing yards. And the guy gets to the playoffs, wins a playoff game, and he makes something out of it, right? But then as soon as the Giants don't give him something, he's getting sacked. By the way, fun fact about Daniel Jones. Yes, he's not the best quarterback, right? Or at least he hasn't been. He has been sacked 208 times in 69 starts. You do the math on that, that's 3 times a game. I am so sorry. You cannot blame the quarterback for 3 sacks a game throughout his entire career with an organization. At some point, you have to point the finger at the offensive line. You got to point the finger at the coach of the offensive line. And you have to point the finger at the front office and say, why the hell didn't you give this guy some protection? You know, you gave him a broken down Saquon Barkley that couldn't stay healthy, goes to the Eagles. Now he's on the front of Madden doing a backwards hurdle, a butt hurdle, okay? Wins a Super Bowl. You give Saquon Barkley an offensive line. Look what the heck happens. He was doing all those special things without an offensive line, okay? Daniel Jones, I'm not saying he's the second coming of a superstar quarterback here, but the guy is surrounded by the best talent he's ever had. Maybe the best coach he's ever had. A guy who understands the quarterback position. I'm sorry, Brian Daboll, not a super big quarterback guru. All right? Daniel Jones is with a guy who helped Phillip Rivers, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert. He's trying to help Anthony Richardson. Now you've got Jonathan Taylor, who might not be Saquon, but he's pretty freaking close. You've got a capable offensive line. Now you've got Tyler Warren. You've got Josh Downs. You've got Alec Pierce. You've got Michael Pittman. If Daniel Jones goes out there and plays football this season, which you're assuming he will, right? If he goes out there, he's surrounded by the best talent he's ever seen. So there's also no excuses for Daniel Jones. But I'm telling you, man, if he goes out there and plays football and he balls out, looks like Baker Mayfield, looks like a Sam Darnold in Minnesota, it's good. It's going to break the internet. I'll tell you that. It's going to break Colts fans. Their heads are going to explode as to what they're supposed to believe. But Daniel Jones has a make or break season here, just like Anthony Richardson. The pressure is on Daniel Jones just as much as it's on Anthony Richardson. Because guess what? If Anthony Richardson doesn't pan out, okay, I think another team gives him a shot. He's got too much athleticism, too much potential, too much of a ceiling for a team not to try to get something out of that. If Daniel Jones doesn't see the field, or if he goes out there and just implodes, his career as a starter is absolutely over. It's done. This is his last shot at a starting gig. Goes to Minnesota, doesn't play a single snap. So the Giants gave up on him. They were done with him. Daniel Jones is at the end of his road here. Now, this is one where I have to say, if he goes out there and plays well, it'd be difficult for the Colts to decide. It would be difficult. Because guess what? He can absolutely operate Shane Steichen's offense. Guess what? He's a more accurate passer right now than Richardson. He's healthier. He's been in the league longer. He knows what a crappy team looks like. Okay. He's literally surrounded by the best weapons he's ever seen. I'm just saying, I'm not a Daniel Jones guy. I've trashed Daniel Jones in the past. But the truth is the truth. He is in the best spot he's ever been in. And he picked the Colts instead of the Vikings because he knew there was a good shot he could beat Anthony Richardson out of the position and that something might happen with Richardson's health that he's going to get an opportunity to show what he's got. So, I mean, we'll see. I think that I'm going to put a question mark on this one. I can't answer if he will be back. I can't answer if he won't be. But if Richardson goes out there, plays decent, misses maybe 3 or 4 games, Jones goes out there and looks like a backup, he's going to be a backup. The Colts will say, well, we went ahead and tried. We gave him a $14 million contract, but whatever, right? So now we got to get to the last one, and this is news and rumors. But at the end of the day, this one is very simply a name that everybody knows, and that is the one and only Anthony Richardson. AC joint, has another issue with his throwing shoulder. He's going to miss, I think, minicamp. They're hoping he's back by training camp. They're not putting a timetable on it. Anthony Richardson, man, he's really, 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 really hurt a lot, isn't he? Like, I mean, you gotta say it like it is. He's played 15 games out of 34, right? 4 in his rookie year, 11 last season. When you put this injury history and you factor it into his inaccuracy, his turnovers, I mean, you got to keep in mind the guy has, at this point in his career, thrown more picks than touchdowns. And last season, he had 12 picks to 8 touchdown passes. It's really difficult to know what you're getting with Richardson now. God forbid if Daniel Jones starts week 1. God forbid if Richardson can't get out there till like week 8. Something like that, because you got to think it's his throwing shoulder. This is huge. I think you're at a crossroads with Anthony Richardson right now. Absolutely debilitating injury. AC joint sprain. It removes his rookie year where you saw promise, takes some steps back. Who knows? Maybe his shoulder wasn't fully operational. I mean, I know that they said that he cleared everything, and they did what they could to it to strengthen it. But my goodness, man, Richardson cannot stay healthy. And in the NFL, if you can't stay healthy, teams don't put up with that for very long. They don't put up with it for very long. And so, yeah, Tina, he's got an injured throwing shoulder, and it's the same shoulder where he had the AC joint sprain in his rookie year that only left him with 4 games. NFL Nerd says it feels like the end of the roads. The Colts doctors strike again. Look, man, Richardson also needs to take better care of himself. I mean, like, I'm not going to sit here and say that, there's not other people to blame. Richardson also is the kind of guy that while it was an incredible highlight play, go back and watch the game against the New York Jets. Okay. He is barreling into the end zone and he's going to score a touchdown. And instead he just absolutely trucks this defensive back. And I mean, you could hear it. It sounded like a gunshot. Like he absolutely destroyed this defensive back. But that's the way Richardson plays, man. He's a physical dude. He's huge. He's going to try to destroy you sometimes. Richardson needs to learn better awareness of his body on the field, too. Now, whatever caused this sprain, whatever caused this aggravation and this throwing shoulder injury is beyond me right now, right? But it's already hampering him. We haven't even gotten to training camp, and Richardson is already replaced by Daniel Jones. Now you see Jason Bean as QB3. All of a sudden, drafting Riley Leonard's not such a bad idea, is it? What happens if Jones goes down? You got to have somebody that can run the football to run the offense. It's right now the quarterback situation is a mess. You don't know what you're going to get with Jones. Riley Leonard's a rookie. Jason Bean is a practice squad quarterback, and Anthony Richardson, who's supposed to be the star, he cannot stay healthy. He can't stay healthy. And Darth Raider mentions it's a little ambiguous on who he worked with. Of course, the Colts, they like to keep that stuff close to the chest. They're not going to go out there and say, hey, everybody, he worked with, he's, fantastic and blah, blah, blah. And here's everything that's behind the scenes and behind the walls of the organization. They're not going to do that. Most NFL teams just aren't. So, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Ian Stigler says if Riley Leonard or Bean start games, we're drafting number one. Look, a lot of respect for Riley Leonard and what he did at Notre Dame. But if he's out there starting games for you, your season's probably over. There's probably some guys that are going to get fired. We'll see. I'm a big fan of Anthony Richardson, people. I think that he's got an absolutely incredible ceiling. I'm sick of using the word potential, though. You can't see any potential. You can't see any performance. You can't see any improvement, any ascension, right? Any upward trajectory, however the heck you want to put it, if you can't stay on the field. All right, Anthony Richardson, you're hoping that his injury is going to be, shored up sooner rather than later. But man, after that, there's a lot of people that are starting to really get concerned. But that's the show. That's the show, guys. You guys are the absolute best. Thank you so much for hanging in there with me, right in the pocket. Listening to me rant, drink beer, all sorts of stuff by myself here. But yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens with this football team. What happens in 2026 with these free agents? What happens across the board? But if you haven't already, like the Horseshoe Huddle on Facebook, follow Indianapolis Colts on SI, on X, and on X, we're actually at Colts_SI. Subscribe to the Horseshoe Huddle, as always, on YouTube, and click that bell to turn on your notifications, or as the cool kids call them, noties, so that you don't miss a beat. If you want to listen to the Horseshoe Huddle podcast, good news, we are everywhere. We are on Apple. We are on Spotify. We are on Google Play. We are on everywhere that you listen to your podcasts, and so much more. So thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you guys too. Everyone, have a great Thursday. Have a great Friday. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy your weekend. We will be seeing you again on Monday night. Take care.